What if I told you that a single act of kindness from a homeless teenager would not only save 2 innocent lives but completely destroy a wealthy woman's carefully constructed web of lies? This is the incredible true story of how prejudice, jealousy, and attempted murder collided in the most unexpected way possible. 15-year-old Marcus Thompson had learned to make himself invisible. Standing under the gleaming entrance of Prestige Plaza, the city's most exclusive shopping center, he watched raindrops cascade off the golden awning above. His threadbare clothes clung to his thin frame as he sought shelter from the storm that had caught him walking to his part-time job. "Move along, street rat." Security guard Jake Morrison's voice boomed across the marble entrance hall. The burly man approached with the swagger of someone drunk on minimal authority. "You're making our clientele uncomfortable." Around them, designer-clad shoppers paused their conversations to stare. Their expressions ranged from disgust to barely concealed fear, as if poverty might somehow be contagious. Marcus had seen these looks countless times, the way people crossed streets to avoid him, clutched their purses tighter, whispered warnings to their children. "I'm just waiting for the rain to stop," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying a dignity that seemed to irritate Morrison even more. "Well, wait somewhere else," Morrison snarled, giving Marcus a rough shove that sent him stumbling toward the glass doors. That's when socialite Rebecca Sterling decided to make her grand entrance into the drama. Dripping in diamonds and designer labels, she emerged from the Hermes boutique like a queen addressing her court. "Officer Morrison is absolutely right," she announced loudly, ensuring every nearby smartphone would capture her performance. "These vagrant children think they can just loiter wherever they please. What's next, setting up camp in our children's schools?" Marcus straightened, meeting her gaze with quiet strength. He'd grown up watching his grandmother clean houses for women just like Rebecca, women who treated kindness like a limited resource they couldn't afford to waste on people like him. As Rebecca continued her theatrical display of righteous indignation, none of the gathered crowd noticed the elegantly dressed woman who had collapsed behind a display of exotic plants 20 feet away. Sarah Montgomery, heiress to a pharmaceutical empire and 7 months pregnant with twins, lay unconscious on the cold marble floor. Blood pooled beneath her blonde hair where she'd struck her head during the fall. Her Cartier bracelet glittered mockingly in the artificial light as her body began showing signs of premature labor. While the crowd remained fixated on humiliating a homeless teenager, a real emergency unfolded in plain sight, the kind of irony that would later make headlines across the nation. Marcus was the first to notice. Years of hypervigilance, of constantly scanning his environment for threats and opportunities, had trained his eyes to catch what others missed. He saw Sarah's prone form, the unnatural angle of her fall, the concerning color of her lips. Without hesitation, he broke away from Morrison's grip and rushed to Sarah's side. Drawing on knowledge his late mother, a former EMT, had taught him, Marcus quickly assessed the situation. Sarah wasn't just unconscious, she was hemorrhaging and in active labor. "Help!" Marcus shouted, his voice cutting through the mall's ambient noise. "There's a woman here who needs immediate medical attention." But when the crowd finally turned their attention to the scene, what they saw told a completely different story than the truth. There was Marcus, shirtless, having used his torn t-shirt to apply pressure to Sarah's head wound, kneeling beside an unconscious, bleeding white woman. To a crowd already primed by prejudice, the optics were damning. "Oh my God, he attacked her!" Rebecca shrieked, pointing at Marcus as if he were wielding a weapon. Her voice carried the perfect pitch of manufactured outrage. "I knew something like this would happen. Call the police immediately." Morrison grabbed Marcus roughly, twisting his arms behind his back. "What did you do to her, you little punk?" "I didn't hurt her," Marcus protested, still trying to maintain pressure on Sarah's wound even as his arms were restrained. "She was already unconscious when I found her. She's having complications with her pregnancy, she needs a hospital now." But his words were drowned out by the growing hysteria of the crowd. Smartphones appeared like magic, recording every angle of what everyone assumed was a violent crime in progress. Within minutes, the footage would be trending on social media with hashtags that would haunt Marcus for years to come. Hours later, as Marcus sat in a holding cell, renowned defense attorney Catherine Walsh received an urgent call from Sarah Montgomery. Sarah had regained consciousness in the hospital and was adamant that the teenage boy was not her attacker but her savior. What Walsh discovered during her investigation would shock everyone involved. Security footage revealed the truth that prejudice had obscured. Marcus had indeed saved Sarah's life. But more disturbing was what the cameras showed happening moments before Sarah's collapse. The footage clearly showed Rebecca Sterling making a phone call, then nodding toward Sarah as she walked past the plants. Moments later, Morrison had deliberately approached Sarah from behind and pushed her hard against the marble planter. Financial records revealed a conspiracy that went deeper than anyone imagined. Rebecca had been embezzling from multiple charities, and Sarah's forensic accountants were closing in on the fraud. Rebecca had paid Morrison to ensure Sarah had an accident that would cause a miscarriage, knowing that the trauma might prevent Sarah from continuing her investigation. When confronted with the evidence, Rebecca's carefully constructed facade crumbled completely. The woman who had built her reputation on charity work and social advocacy was revealed as someone willing to murder innocent children to protect her criminal enterprise. "You have no idea what it's like," Rebecca screamed as handcuffs were placed on her wrists. "People like her are born with everything handed to them, while people like me have to fight for every scrap." Marcus watched the arrest with the same quiet dignity he'd shown throughout his ordeal. At 15, he'd learned that true strength wasn't about revenge, it was about ensuring the truth prevailed. 5 years later, Dr. Marcus Thompson walked through the halls of Metropolitan General Hospital, where he was completing his residency in emergency medicine. Sarah Montgomery, now his close friend and mentor, had established a full scholarship foundation in his honor. Rebecca Sterling was serving a 15-year sentence for attempted murder and charity fraud. Morrison had been released after 3 years but carried the weight of his choices in every job rejection, every suspicious glance, every reminder of how he'd almost destroyed an innocent life for money. The story became a national sensation, sparking conversations about prejudice, assumptions, and the danger of judging people based on appearances. Marcus used his platform to advocate for homeless youth and to remind people that heroism often comes from the most unexpected places. Today, Marcus saves lives as a doctor while Rebecca counts down the days in a prison cell. The teenager she tried to destroy became everything she pretended to be, a genuine helper of those in need. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's building a life so meaningful that your enemies spend their remaining days wondering how they could have been so wrong about someone who always had the strength to turn injustice into purpose. Drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. And if stories of resilience and justice inspire you as much as they inspire us, make sure to subscribe to Story Fills for more incredible tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Remember, our circumstances don't define us, but our choices determine our legacy.